Hello to all of you watching. It's a pleasure to welcome you here for this edition of Tech 24. A show dedicated today to persuasive design, or how digital technology is made to facilitate addiction. While there's growing recognition of the problem, users are still not aware of how exactly this happens. Our guest, Pierre Louette, the chairman and CEO of the French media Les Echos, along with our tech editor, Peter O'Brien, will shed light on these strategies. And in Test 24, we'll try Clone, a holographic DJ kit that will enable you to project the hologram of your favorite DJ in your living room. Now, persuasive tech is the idea that technology is designed to change attitudes or behaviors of users through persuasion and social influence. And Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft were perhaps the first to realize what an incredible goldmine the accumulation of people's personal data represented. They decided to harness this data to better understand people's desires and behavior, and in that sense, they were definitely pioneers. But they did so while ignoring ethical and moral codes, using all the tricks in the book to become irreplaceable in people's lives. Well, that's at least what Pierre Louette, the chairman and CEO of the French media company Les Echos, believes. In his book entitled Giants and Men, published by Robert Laffont, he speaks of big tech as being the new barbarians. Well, to speak more about it, I'm joined by Pierre Louette himself. Hello and welcome. Now, you've pegged this new expression, the new barbarians. The claim is quite harsh, so why did you decide to talk about this specific subject?
Actually, I really wanted to make a bit of history. I've been working in this field for about 20 years, and actually I saw the emergence of the new players. I live with them. We all live with them. I like a lot of what they do. The products are good, otherwise they wouldn't have been used so much. But I feel that now those companies have become so big that they need to really live in a better way with the ecosystems around them. They need to enter into the atmosphere. They cannot behave as what I call supranationals, multinational companies above the states. They need to cope and to deal and to live with the laws, the legal systems, the structures in all of the countries in which they operate. So it's a book about 15 years of those battles and also cooperations at some other times. And it is a call for action, actually, for all of our democracies, because what we've seen lately is that not only are they huge economic powers, but also do they have something of an action in the democratic lives of our countries.
Now, in order to become world first, you go so far as to say that they've used all the traditional domination techniques, from seduction to manipulation, even to addiction. How so?
Yeah, it's a bit of a metaphor in a way, but it's true that we know that the algorithmic systems produce that kind of addiction. It's a bit of a story of more of the same. If you've watched this, we're going to send more of this, and even a bit stronger to you. So that's a mechanism that creates some kind of addiction. It's also based on the screen civilization in which we are. I was pretty impressed in a way and saddened in other ways to read that most of the leaders of those great new giant companies, they tell their own children not to spend too much time on the screens. And meanwhile, everything that is done by them is to make us spend more time on the screens, because those companies, which are originally technology companies, have become advertising companies, and they generate huge revenues. Even the latest results that were announced are very impressive. Huge revenues based on the time spent by people watching screens, exchanging contents, reading also, and discovering contents written by others, like the media and like the press in France or other countries.
Now, briefly, the European Union has made steps recently to try to regulate big tech and make sure that the use of people's data is transparent. Do you think that they've gone far enough?
It's a very good start. I'm very impressed with what Madame Vestager and Thierry Breton do. In a way, to use another image, we have found out one thing which is very clear today. Data is a new currency in the world. But the central banks are owned by the GAFA. So we need to take this situation into our hands, and data regulation must be developed. Regulations in general must be developed when you have players that have such a huge market power, such a huge share of many activities that we have online. You have a player that means search. Google means search, basically. Facebook is the Agora of the world. Those companies have become so big that they need to enter into some new regulatory framework that was used in the past for many sectors like banking, railway, and others, and telecoms. And it needs to be used again, because otherwise we will be very small facing huge companies, and the asymmetry is too strong.
Pierre Louette, the CEO and chairman of Les Echos, thank you very much indeed for that. And now we're going to look more specifically into the techniques that are used to get people hooked. With you, Peter, what are some of them that are used commonly?
Well, social media design has really evolved out of the work of a specialist in marketing techniques called Robert Cialdini, and he looks into things like these we have on the board here. So scarcity is one of his examples, and that's when things become more attractive when they're likely to disappear. So all the stories that we see on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, we're more likely to want to click on them because we know they won't exist for very long. Another one of his ideas is this social proof. So if lots of people are doing something, for example, if there's lots and lots of videos, billions of views racking up on YouTube videos, we're more likely to want to watch them. Another one, personalization, what Cialdini actually called unity. So that's wanting to feel like your personality is part of something. So you're likely to get things pushed to you that align with your interests. Whether you're into pottery or Harry Potter, you're going to see more of it. And finally, we've got reciprocity. So if you give something, you want to have something back. So if you're inviting your friends to join you on a certain social platform, you're going to see their content and enjoy it as well.
Now, Peter, there's growing evidence that this persuasive tech has gone too far and that it sometimes can lead to addiction. There's also increasing evidence that it's having a negative impact on the mental health of people, but more specifically on children.
Exactly. Now, while people under the age of 13 aren't technically allowed to access social media, that doesn't mean that it can't still be having a negative effect if you use it a lot and you're in your teenage years. So a study which was released by the Education Policy Institute in the UK suggests that heavy social media use is actually worse for girls. So if you're a girl and you're age 14 or 17, you're likely to have lower self-esteem and lower well-being if you use social media a lot. If you're a boy, you might have lower well-being at the age of 14, but not if you're 17, and also your self-esteem might not be affected around that time. Now, interestingly as well, very little social media use was also associated with a lower well-being. So it does sort of show that we do need a little bit of social connection. The report points out that since COVID-19 came along, children, the likelihood that you'll have mental disorder as a young person has increased dramatically.
Now, Peter, what about to get unhooked? What would be your main advice?
I could talk absolutely all day about this. I've loved getting disconnected a little bit from my phone and my devices. So my main tip would be to put your phone on silent all the time, take off vibration, make sure it doesn't light up at any point, and turn off as many notification settings as you can, because there's no need to be interrupted all the time. You can go and find the app you need at the time you need it. You can get back to people later. It's not a problem. And the other two tips I came across, which I don't do yet, but I'm really planning on, is keeping my phone well out of eyesight, because if it's in your line of sight, you're much more likely to actually check it, and also using a search bar to search for the exact app you want at that time, rather than scrolling past all your apps and seeing all of these ones that you could go on and scroll on that one. No, just search for the one you need at that time. Those are my top tips.
Thank you very much, Peter. And speaking of digital well-being, the relaxation technique dubbed Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response has taken the internet by storm, with already more than 13 million videos available on this topic on YouTube. The technique triggers a tingling sensation in the body, as Wassim Cornet explains.
Tapping for minutes on end. Munching on a cucumber. Or whispering into a microphone. There are now millions of these kinds of muted and mysterious videos online, with one ultimate goal: to relax us. This YouTuber is imitating a hairdresser while whispering, and it actually helps this marketing student focus.
Donc, ce type de vidéo auquel je suis assez sensible, c'est quand on va toucher les cheveux, etc. Ça peut, dans ma tête, j'ai l'impression que comme si Enfin, moi aussi, on pouvait me toucher les cheveux et ça me fait comme des petits picotements dans la tête.
The videos allegedly trigger a subconscious response from the body's nervous system, but who exactly makes them? Florian was a fan himself before he decided to jump on the bandwagon. This professor of German uploads one video each week and makes €1,000 per month thanks to advertising. Some people are more sensitive to this,
Le son du crépitement est très 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 déclencheur. Par exemple, caresser.
and others to this.
Ça évoque un petit peu les vagues.
But does it really have a scientific effect? This neurologist has told his patient to watch relaxing videos in order to sleep better. He's offered to test her brain activity while she watches one. Just a few minutes in, the patient is already much more relaxed.
Si je peux soulager un patient qui va mieux dormir, qui sera moins anxieux et qui aura moins de douleur en regardant des petites vidéos sans conséquence, ça vaut le coup. Enfin, c'est mieux que des traitements qui peuvent être lourds, qui peuvent donner aussi des addictions.
But the videos do have their limits. Those who create them know that for skeptics, the only effect will be minor annoyance.
It's time now for Test 24. And there's a very festive mood here on the set of Test 24. There's no need to miss going out. If you're in lockdown, no worries. You can get the club delivered to you in your own living room thanks to this device.
Yeah, we've got a holographic DJ here with us on set, Julia, and the French events company Clone for €29 will send you out this little kit, which includes this thin mesh, which in the light you can see it, but if you turn the lights off in your house and you've got it set up on a door frame or a window, then it really is like it's invisible. And unfortunately, you do need to bring your own laptop and projector to make it work. But for the €29, you also get live events organised by Clone, which are streamed to your device, which you can then print onto this holographic surface.
That's right, Peter. And holograms are set to take by storms other sectors as well. It happens that the French legislation is actually looking into banning wild animals in circuses, and the famous Bouglione Circus has now decided to use holographic bears in its performances to preserve the flavor of historic circuses while eliminating concerns of animal cruelty. Well, that actually brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.